everyone, welcome to Rhino Exploration. My name is Zach. Today we are doing a review on my Bluetti Power Station and the solar panel that it has, so stay tuned guys. Welcome back to the garage, everybody. So, like I said, we are going to be reviewing this Bluetti Power Station today. Just like I always do in the garage, I am going to apologize for any road noise that you hear, just because the garage door is open, cars drive up and down the street all the time, and it kind of echoes in here in the garage. So, I kind of pause when they go by, just so you guys are aware. So, what do we have here? This is the Bluetti EB3A Power Station. This is the PV120 solar panel. So I do have some notes, guys, just because, like always, small details, want to remember them for you all. So I have been using this power station. I've had it for about 3 months now. I have been using it the past 2.5 months, and I wanted to do just kind of a review with you guys of my take on everything, what I think about it all, and how it's been working. So this is the Bluetti EB3 600 watt 268 watt per hour power station. And if we turn it on here, it has this wonderful little display that tells you what your charge is, what your input is, and what your output is. Basically, how many watts you're putting into the machine, how many watts you're taking out when you're charging things. And this little thing is quite small, but also has a lot to offer. So let's kind of just go over some of the basics about this machine. Right here is your input for power. That's all it does. So you do have your shore power line where you can plug into your house shore power, and it will input charge into here. And you also have your hole here for your solar panel hookup, or for if you have a connector to charge it from your vehicle. And then this button right here is your basically kind of like your power breaker or your reset button for this, for if you kind of pop the fuse within it. Now, the thing about your input power and your shore power is that's all it does. You can only input power here at this point. That's all that it will do. You cannot hook this into something and then plug it into an object to hopefully charge it. It will not do it. This is only input power only. And later on we will get to some of the pros and cons about some of these things. So over here, if we hit the button again, just so the screen is on for you guys. Up top here is their 12 volt cigarette car port. You can charge anything you want through here. They also have a couple charging holes right here. And then you have 2 USBs and a USB-C right there that helps charge a lot. You have a couple of your 120 volt house outlets that you can plug things into to charge. And then up here you have a light that has a couple different modes. And then up top here, this is a wireless charging area. You can just set your phone or your device that can wirelessly charge. You can set it up here and it starts wirelessly charging. So a few things about this power system. First off, it is only a 600 watt power station. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but this little thing actually is pretty powerful. And it will actually run for quite a while. You're not going to be able to do any kind of large, kind of kitchen appliances, large things that draw a ton of power from it, because it just will not be able to put out that kind of power to them for very long. Once it hits 600, it kind of taps out. It tells you no more. And it will drain it fast. But for charging things like your computer, phone, stuff like that, it is super simple. And actually, I'll demonstrate here shortly how it does with charging. But some of the things with this. So what's its charge time? This thing charges actually very quickly, especially if you plug it into the wall. From 0 to 80% takes about 30 minutes, and fully charged is about 45 minutes. Like, this thing will charge from 0 to 100% in under an hour, which I can attest because I have put it to the test to see. I have drained this thing and then charged it, and it was about 43 minutes. This thing was at 100%, fully charged, ready to go, and it holds a charge for a long time. Guys, I got back from Southern California over 2 weeks ago. This thing has been charged at 100% since. I have not used it. I charged it, put it away. It has been charged, ready to go the whole time, and it has been fabulous. So the other thing about this power station is it is Bluetooth, and there is an app that you can download onto your phone, which will appear on the screen here in a second, that you can control everything with. You can turn this on, you can turn this off, you can check the state of charge, you can put this from eco mode to full power mode, so you can sit there and either, put this in a safe mode where it won't kind of draw as much power and it kind of helps with the battery, or you can turn that off and it will just show out the power that you need to right away and kind of take away from it. You can turn on and off the fans with it, and you can turn on whether you want the DC, AC power. You can turn all these on. So with the Blue Yeti, in order to be able to take power from it to charge something, you have to click the button, and once you click the button, this little green light will come on. That will then indicate on the screen whether what section this is DC power, and then when you turn it on and you plug something into this, it will start charging that. And you can only charge them if these buttons have been clicked. So click it here. I'm not going to click this button. That one just turns on the light. It does nothing else but turn on the light. Click this just to demonstrate to you guys what it does when it's plugged in. I'm going to plug my phone in, which is not 100% charged, and you will start seeing right here that this has changed to, it will run for about 8 hours. It is drawing 28 watts to charge my phone, and it is going to sit there and charge my phone. And then here on the app, let me see if I can get this to show you. You can see that it is showing me that this is charging off of AC power. It is telling me how many watts it is putting back into my phone, what the percentage of the battery is, and on the app itself it doesn't tell you how many hours this will run. You have to look at the machine, which it will constantly tell you right there, and this will change once my phone hits 100%, and it will just basically keep it charged, and this will probably jump back up to around 30 hours or so until it needs to charge something. Now the app only connects to it if and only if you've turned this on first. I have found that you can power this off from your phone, but it will not turn it on from your phone unless you have powered this on and it is already connected, which isn't too bad of a thing. You just have to make sure that this has been turned on first and your phone is nearby to connect to it, and then it works really well. And honestly guys, I've had 0 issues with the app working with this machine. Let's talk about the solar panel. This is their PV120 solar panel. Now I'm going to put this out there right now. This solar panel is different from the ones they have out now. This is their older solar panel. They have since redesigned this solar panel. I guess they must have did it at the beginning of the year, and they have now pushed that one out. It is very similar. It's just a little bit bigger in length. Like they kind of broke up the solar panel, so they're half this size and they kind of just extend out further, but it is still the same, and they have different size solar panels, so you can get ones that will output much higher watts per hour back into the machine for charging. But this is the one that I got with it, and because it was kind of like a little combo off of Amazon, and it works okay. With this solar panel, you can see that this is the solar parts itself. It is made of a very, very strong material that is kind of felt, kind of not, but it works really, really well. It's got these buttons on here on the side that connect to each other, and it keeps it closed. It's got this really big handle to hold on to that is sturdy, and then if we flip this, you have this little flap that helps support it up, right? And right here is this little pouch that if I unzip it, you will find all the wires. Now I do have the charging wires for shore power that go to the Blue Yeti power system itself, and then we have our connectors from the solar panel that plug into the machine. Now, this solar panel will put 120 watts back into the machine. Like, it'll charge it at 120 watts. So if this thing is low, or you're at camp, or you just need to charge it, or you have the ability to, you can plug this in, and in full sunlight, and I mean direct sunlight, it will put 120 watts back into the machine, charging it. And I say full sunlight because if you do not have full sunlight, without a cloud in the sky, it will not. But we will get into that here shortly. But it plugs in, but it will put 120 back into the machine. That is what it is claimed to do. And then this, which is the plug for it, goes right over here and plugs into that little port on the machine, which then lights up and will tell you what it is putting out. And once you plug it in, you will see that this little input symbol is flickering. It flickers when it is trying to pull power from the solar panel. So if the solar panel, like it is right now in the garage, isn't in any kind of sunlight, it's just kind of getting some of the reflection off of the cars and what's coming into the garage, it kind of just flickers because it's not really getting a really good charge off of the solar panel to start being able to put power back into this machine. But once it does, it sits there and will charge, and you will see an actual number appear here. This will stay solid, and it'll tell you what it is it's charging. And this little bar, if it's lower, will sit there and start moving, showing you that this is charging off of the solar. Or if it's plugged into the wall, it'll show you that it is charging. You're probably wondering, how does this work? You know, how long will it charge things? Could I run my fridge off of this? What could I do? And I do have those answers. So yes, you can charge your fridge off of this. I have a fridge that I have not introduced to you guys yet. That is coming. But I do have a fridge, and I have ran this for over 24 hours off of my fridge. So I plugged my fridge through the 12 volt into it, turned it on, and it brought my fridge temperature to where I wanted it, and it maintained it there. And this thing actually ran for 28 hours before I needed to charge this, because that's when it hit 1%. But it ran for 28 hours, and it will pull what it needed to. Once it was done pulling what it needed to, because the fridge hit its temperature, it cycled itself off, waited, and turned itself back on. But it ran for 28 hours off of this little machine. So what that tells me is when I'm at camp and I get there, I don't have to keep the fridge plugged into the Jeep. I can then plug it into here and know that when morning comes, that the fridge will still be cold, and I can plug it back into the Jeep, and this will still have power. Honestly, because in that 28-hour period that I ran it, it took 28 hours for it to hit 1, and I started it at 100. So if you then unplug this every morning, recharged it via the solar, you'll be able to just keep continuously using this. Also, this charges my computer, my phones, my camera batteries, you know, the drone batteries, GoPro, all that stuff. It works great, guys. This thing will run for days, literally days, just charging things, because you're not going to keep them constantly charging. I have gone on trips and charged my computer because I was using it, charged my phone at night at camp, my camera batteries, and this thing, over the course of when I was in Moab using this to charge all my stuff, it did not drop less than 10% over the course of a few days of using it just for charging those items. Will it run a 12 volt blanket? Yes, but not for very long. So I do have a 12 volt blanket that I use. I accidentally did drain the battery using it because I thought I had set the timer. Because if I was setting the timer on it, and the level on my 12 volt blanket, it's got like 3 different levels of how, you know, power that it'll pull. And I thought I was setting the timer, and I actually set that too high. I set the actual level, and so it drained it. But it ran for about 6 hours. So the highest setting on my 12 volt blanket, this thing ran for 6 hours, then died. But it works really, really well. You can run certain other equipment off of it. It's just like I said, once you hit up to around the 600 watt mark, this thing will cut off because you are trying to pull too much from it too quickly, and it's just not going to, you know, run for very long before it cuts off and says, no, try again. This machine is very quiet. There are 2 fans on this machine that cycle when you have this plugged in for shore power. when it is charging to help keep the batteries kind of cool and the machine cool as it's charging. You don't really hear it, honestly, guys. I have, like I said, plugged it in at 0 and charged it, and you really don't hear the fans kick in. They do, but they kick on, but you don't really hear them. Why this is charging up, and then once it's charged up, it just goes dead quiet again, and it is silent. So let's kind of move in to some of the pros and cons. So like I said, some of the pros are this works really well at charging your computer gear, your camera gear, things like that at camp, or your phones. It works great at keeping the fridge cool overnight, and when you get to camp and unplug it, and you can go a couple days with running the fridge off of this if all you're doing is plugging this in at camp, because you plug it in for a couple hours. At camp you can get at least 3 days. If you don't charge this and only use it for the fridge, you can get a couple days out of it, which has been awesome. I have gotten about 2 days on a full charge using my fridge and using it to charge up my camera batteries at camp. And it works really well. It's small and it doesn't put out a lot, but it works really, really well. And being able to check everything from my phone is great, because I don't have to walk over and press the button all the time, or if it's charging things in the car, because I'll charge them in the Jeep while I'm traveling. I don't have to check it, I can just check it real quick from the app, and it works really, really well. Or the solar panel, on the other hand, is another story. This thing is iffy. It will charge, but it's very picky about the sunlight. If it does not have, like I said, direct sunlight without a cloud in the sky, it will not put 120 watts back into this thing. And I'll be honest, I've never seen 120 watts go back into this thing from the solar panel. And I have had this in the driveway, charging, no cloud in the sky, here at home to test it, and it wouldn't put 120 back into this thing. The most I saw was about 102, which is still pretty good, but it's not 120 going back into this thing. And when I was in Moab, California, and even in Flagstaff charging this, I was barely seeing 80 watts going back into this thing, and it was sunny out. So it just kind of varies. Some of the other little issues I found with the solar panel is this plug going into this outlet. It is super, super loose. It will easily pull right out of this machine. It's not like a nice solid, when you push it in there, you get that satisfactory click of it's in there and secure. It easily pulls right out. And if you don't seat it in all the way and make sure it's pushed all the way back, it actually doesn't charge. So it's got to have that connection pushed all the way back. And because it's so loose, if you're not paying attention, you may not charge it and you think you are. I've not had that issue, but I did realize that while I was in Moab using it, that it was just not charging if you did not push it in all the way, which was very interesting. I do like that the solar panel is strong. It is very strong, and that the buttons are super strong. They hold it in place. They don't just magically pop open, and this is a very strong material. However, it takes a bit of effort to get that open. There are a few other things on this solar panel I do not like. First and foremost, flip it around. I love the pouch. Holds all the wires great. I do not like this flap. This little flap, you see it right here, does not really hold this up very well at all. Here on the table, out on the driveway, on the sidewalk, perfect. Out on the trail, next to the, at camp, it just falls over. It's not strong enough to support this on anything that isn't a perfectly flat, hard surface. And that is a bit of a bummer, because if you're at camp and you don't have a rock to put it next to, or if your Jeep does not have, it's not in the direct sunlight the way you want it, and you want to set this up, it easily falls over just because it doesn't stay balanced very well. The other thing about that is this thing falls over very easily in the wind if you're using that flap. If the headwind is not hitting this dead on, it will not support itself. It will instantly fall over. This has fallen over many times, which this is strong. It doesn't have any kind of cracks, any kind of scratches, nothing. It is super strong, but it has fallen over quite a bit because the wind, the wind shifts, it just instantly falls over, because if this thing gets pushed a little bit, it doesn't land back on the flap. The flap just falls back in and it falls over. The other thing on the solar panel I dislike is this handle. It is a very strong handle. It is super, super strong. Like, you grab it, it feels nice and secure. It's a nice firm plastic, but it is quite tall. If you take this like this is this tall. Like, it's great for holding, but you cannot put this into a box that isn't taller than this, like a storage container. So when I'm, on the road and going out on an adventure, this has to sit next to the tote, in between one of the sides of the Jeep and the tote, so that it doesn't get smashed or moving around, because this doesn't fit in a tote because the lid won't close. And I can't lay it sideways like this in the tote, or lay it flat, because it is, very long in width, and the totes that I have aren't this tall. They're like this tall. They're much shorter, and they just aren't super wide, because otherwise it would take up a lot of space. So this handle, if it was just a flat handle, or much lower, I get why they did it, so you have more solar panel down there. But if it was a little bit lower, that would be better. Otherwise, the handle does work great. It just prevents you from being able to store this in different areas. Another thing about this power station is, how I told you it will charge off of shore power, 120 volt plug, shore power. It has to be a true 120 volt power source. So in the wall, some kind of, like, if you're at a campground, it has to be that. You can't charge this off of its 120 volt charger from the Jeep. I have tried, it will not charge. It does not register that is a solid 120 volt charge, so it will not charge in the Jeep. You actually have to get, they do sell it on their website, that basically your cigarette 12 volt charge that you can connect into the plug that this connects into for the solar panels, the little plug, and plug it in here, and it will charge through your cigarette lighter in the Jeep, but it will not charge through the 120 volt plug in the back of the Jeep, which is kind of annoying, because that means you can't charge it on the go while you're traveling unless you have that plug, which that plug isn't exactly cheap. It's over $25, so you have to put that into consideration. Some of the other little things about this machine that I personally dislike: one, this handle. This handle does not just magically pop up. It gets stuck, and this little spot here is not super big for me to get my fingers in to get under it, and then you have to pop it up. Once it's up, the handle's great. The handle is super strong. It is a good firm feeling, and when you push it down, it keeps it nice and flat. So this can be stored in different places, but to get the handle up, it takes a little bit, because it just gets stuck. The other thing I find completely useless, in my opinion, is this lovely little light. I have rechargeable lanterns. I have rechargeable flashlights. I don't need a light on the power station. I guess if you're at home and you have a power outage, that's great. But for me, I just don't find it useful. I think it's stupid. I think that they could have put another 12 volt here instead, so you could have plugged something else in, or another 120 volt, or some other form of plug, or even some more USBs in here, so you have more spots to charge. I just think the light is kind of useless. Just kind of like the wireless charging part here. It's great if you can. It will not charge my phone through my phone case. I have to take it out of the phone case to charge it. And honestly, I don't have too many pieces of equipment that wirelessly charge. So it's just kind of something that's there. It's not really a negative or a positive to me. It's just kind of there. It doesn't matter. I can set stuff on top of this. I do love that this fits in my tote. I set this in my linen tote just so it doesn't get damaged, but it fits nicely. It's just this little tiny box, so it just fits nicely. And this thing is only about 15 pounds, maybe. This thing's only about 17-ish pounds, so it's not super heavy. So it's really convenient in that aspect. Now together, I got both of these on Amazon, And honestly, these are kind of a budget power system. They weren't super expensive. I think it cost me all of about $340 for both of these. You will not find these on Amazon anymore. You will find this on Amazon. You cannot find this solar panel anymore. They have since updated to all their newer solar panels, so you'll still find the PV120 solar panel. Is just going to look completely different than this one. It just looks a little bit longer, and you can tell it's been updated just because it's not the same as this one anymore. But I did get these on Amazon. You can also get them off of the Blue Yeti site. Blue Yeti is not a sponsor of the channel, but you can get these off of their site. They do have different, wattage of power stations. This is kind of the lower end of theirs. They do have one that is a little bit lower in power output, and then they do constantly go up to the point that you can even have backup power stations on your home. But for a power station for my needs right now, this works fantastic. I absolutely love it. Love the fact it wasn't super expensive. It charges all my things. It lasts several days, and I can recharge this, pretty quickly at home off of shore power, or I can, keep it topped off or close to topped off with the solar panel. Just kind of depends on the day. If it's cloudy, don't even put this out. It's not going to charge it. I've tried. But this has been a great little power station, guys, and if you are looking for something that is not going to break the bank but will charge your things and you can use it for various other things, this is a great option. Otherwise, you do have other options out there on the market, but this is the one that I have, and I absolutely enjoy it. And it is super strong. This plastic is strong, though it sounds kind of cheap. It is not. It is actually very strong. There's no scratches on this or anything like that. Well, I hope you guys found this informational and helpful. And if you're looking for a power station that's not going to break the bank and will charge the things that you need to, this is a good option. You guys will find a link for this power station and the newer version of the solar panel for both Amazon and to the Blue Yeti site down in the description. Go ahead and check those out if you guys are interested. Also, if you guys have not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We have a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're slowly getting towards our goal. We're not even halfway through the year yet, but you guys' help is what is going to get us to our goal. If you haven't checked this out on some of our other social media platforms, the links are in the description below. Go ahead and check it out, because it doesn't stop here on YouTube. I constantly am putting things about my daily, what I'm doing daily, and on my adventures on Instagram and on Facebook. So go ahead and check those out if you guys would like to help support me on my adventures. There is a link to Patreon down in the description. You'll find all sorts of different things on Patreon. Anything that you guys would like to, donate to me, I greatly appreciate it. It helps me, with funding my adventures and going out and taking you guys to different places and getting other equipment to use and test and review and provide to you guys, so you have that information. So thank you all for joining me in the garage today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you all next time.